This is Cody Hawkins here with the Caddo Mills Fox Radio Network here with head coach Cody Crane. Of course, the Coach Cody Crane Show brought to you by Donaghy Ford and GMC over in Greenville. Well, Coach, glad you could fit me in. You've been making the media rounds this week with Mr. Smoke down in Waco, and how's that made you feel this week, kind of this program getting some spotlight after beating Pleasant Grove?
Well, absolutely. And, that's neat for our program.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, since a goal when you're starting a new program is to get it on the map. And it takes big wins to get a program on the map. And we did that this week. And so, I was in Groesbeck for a little while, close to Waco, and had a relationship with Mr. Smoke. And that's how that kind of came about. And one of our former boosters called in and said something and was bragging on us. And so he called, and it was a neat deal.
Beating Pleasant Grove 35-31, of course, man, if you heard the radio call, I called to Superman there at the end because, man, he just made play after play. 17 out of 40, 266, 79 yards rushing. Man, that was probably one of the best ball games I've ever done, and that was just an unbelievable effort by your football team.
Absolutely. In that spot, in the third round of the playoffs, over Thanksgiving, Black Friday, I don't know that I've ever been around a better one. It was neat, action-packed, back and forth all the way down to the end. Looking up, every other one of our rows was taped off.
Yeah.
So they couldn't sit there. So we were at half capacity. But as you're looking up there, you really can't tell that every other row is taped off. And it was so neat. It was so neat for our kids. And some of the views that we've seen on Twitter and YouTube or whatever, it just it is a neat deal.
It was a game that was weird. I knew me and you talked on Wednesday before Thanksgiving last week, and then, man, when you have 4 radio stations and just about every reporter from Waco to Texarkana covering that game, the minute you walked on the field, I was on the sideline. It had that big game feel.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And that's what we try to tell our kids, that big games like that is what they make movies about. It's what they write books about.
Yeah.
And so to have the opportunity to play over Thanksgiving, 2:00 in the afternoon, and like you and I have talked so many times, not many of us are going to go on. It's about making memories.
Exactly.
And that is another memory, that from now on, whenever they're eating Thanksgiving dinner, whenever they turn on and watch the TV, they'll have a smile on their face that, hey, remember when we did this.
Davis, of course, 121 receiving. Bean, kind of started slow, but still had the go-ahead touchdown there, 77 yards receiving. In the pregame, we came out, me and you talked. They were a big football team. Pleasant Grove was big. Even with the 2 guys, they were missing D1 athletes. There might have been 3 or 4 more D1 athletes out there. When you went back in the locker room, they stayed out for warm-up. Did that come up, or was just like another team, another game, another week?
Our kids are so mature.
Yeah.
And senior laden, and no matter how good we are, we think we're pretty good,
Yeah.
And so, yes, I think everybody looked around and said, wow, that is a big football team. But I don't think it happened in an intimidating way, because I pretty much know that because the way we started the game.
Yeah.
We were the most physical team. We brought the punch to them. So even though, yes, their size was very imposing, but our kids reacted very well to that, I thought.
To start the game with a scoop and a score, that was just, you talk about setting a tone, and man, it sounded like a small little East Texas earthquake on that home side when that happened.
I'm telling you, it's just, play 1, stuff, play 2, stuff, play 3, stuff, strip, scoop and score. And just couldn't have started any better for us.
Townley did, 40 attempts is quite a bit. You kept taking shots downfield. Was that something you saw on tape that you knew that eventually one of those, Davis finally got the big pass completion there late second quarter to score y'all's second touchdown? Did you kind of feel that it was going to be there on film that Townley was going to get some chances downfield?
Well, we did,
Yeah.
and partially because how big their defensive front was.
Yeah.
We knew that we weren't going to move them on a consistent basis.
Mm-hmm.
We thought we could run it, but we knew that we were going to have to throw it to have a huge success. And time after time, and we ended up making plays down the field that turned the game.
Tough running. You guys have prided yourself on sometimes just putting a hand in the dirt and running the football. Tough sledding against that team. Townley had 79. Your other leading rusher, Pounds, had 32. But you kept at it. You kept chipping away. And was that something that you didn't want to alienate?
Well, we felt like we had to.
Yeah.
We couldn't get one-dimensional. We knew that they had to continue to respect the run, whether it was giving the ball to Connor, letting Townley carry it, or letting Townley scramble.
Yeah.
They had to have some eyes and some fear for our passing game to continue. And we felt like we had even though we threw it more than we normally do, we had a pretty good balance because we had 80-some-odd plays in that football game.
Of course, Pleasant Grove eventually is going to have some explosive plays. You don't compete for state titles year in and year out without having something big happen. Of course, it did a few times. Down 24-10 at the half, 24-14, excuse me. What did you tell your team at halftime, if you can share that?
Well, absolutely. So we stopped them coming off the field, and we just, what did you think? Really?
Yeah.
They're the defending state champions.
Yeah.
They've been there 3 times. Did you think we're playing somebody we're going to beat 50-0? No.
Yeah.
So after we put that into perspective, we ran up the ramp, and Coach McDonald got our offense because we didn't feel like offensively the first half we played any good at all. And his message was calm down. We don't have to go change the world right now. We just got to do what we do, what we've always done, and get back to that, and great things were happening. So then he told him that we made our few slight adjustments. We had to make some adjustments defensively.
Yeah.
And offensively, we just came out, made a tweak or two, but just did what we do and executed, and then, we put some points on the board.
Once again, deferring, getting the ball to start the third quarter, that's worked for this team all year long. First time I've ever seen an onside punt was that. I called it that on the radio, and everybody let me, but onside punt, I kept getting, it's kind of what it looked like. Of course, it ricocheted off the player. You guys fall on it. Man, that sparked this whole thing.
That was a big break for us, absolutely. And, but the time he punted before, he tried to punt it normal, and it ballooned up in the air and went for a negative yards.
Yeah.
So, we had coached him that, hey, we want to hit that and hit a line drive. Well, he hit a ground ball instead of a line drive, and so that was a fortunate thing.
Yeah.
And we didn't feel like we got a ton of breaks in that football game, but that was a huge break that we got to help us.
I've heard you several times this year, halftime, post game, doing this. You never want to use the officials as a crutch, but man, there just seemed to be a lot of things that didn't go our way in that football game, especially some on down the field penalties on offsides, and some times where you were trying to draw them offsides as far as a snap count.
Yeah, sure. And there's nothing we could do about that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand it either. And so I don't know. I don't understand why. Because in those situations, not a lot of times, all the time, I'm telling that official what we're fixing to do, so there's so he doesn't miss it.
Yeah.
And there was a no call or two that cost us opportunity on fourth down whenever it counted, and it also cost us an interception, a turnover. So, that is something that we'll never use as an excuse, but that's something that we've got to learn from. And, even though it's working, if it's not working, maybe we need to move to something else, for whatever reason, and we shouldn't have to, but we just got to learn from that as a staff as well.
I had a question I was going to ask, but I'm going to go ahead and move it up a little bit. Savion Neal, the interception that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, just kind of a duck where you kind of was forcing Pleasant Grove into some passing situations. He made a couple great open field tackles to keep some guys in bounds. How does it feel for you as a coach for a senior who's had a rough year with injuries, haven't really seen him play meaningful playing time on offense since Gainesville? How did that make you feel in the post game of a kid that just made big plays in the third and fourth quarter for you last week?
He was our defensive player of the week.
Absolutely.
2 interceptions.
Yeah.
I think it was 8 solo tackles.
Yeah.
Pass, whatever it was. But, words can't describe, how prideful and proud of the kid that we are. And we always knew that defensively was a good spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
But as much as he was carrying the ball offensively, it just took us, still even in year 2, it won't matter if we're here in year 20, we're going to still be learning our personnel and how they mature different ways. But, we always knew that, and whenever college coaches asked me about him, I tell him he could play running back, he could play corner, or he could play any other position on defense. He could play H-back on offense. He is very, very versatile. And I felt like one thing Coach Walker and his defensive staff has done a great job with is kind of making sure our personnel over the last 2 weeks has been where it needs to be. Savion playing our kind of outside linebacker that 1 week where we ran the odd front. Then this week, he was kind of playing a corner to the boundary. And then Jacob Hall, he's done some different things with Jacob Hall over that time. And so he's done a really good job with personnel, meaningful to help us win those last 2 games.
So after that interception, you have a big completion down to Bean. It comes up to be 4th down. Any thoughts of kicking a field goal there? Were you going for the kill? We thought you were going to draw them off sides. It would have been an automatic first down. Any reason there you don't put on the field?
A couple things.
Yeah.
Number one, whenever we're at 3rd down, it was 3rd and 3, I believe
3rd
it
and 3,
was, and we had a deep pass that was incomplete, and something didn't set right with me there on that play, and I should have used a timeout. Didn't for whatever reason. And then we go to 4th down, and yes, we were still contemplating it.
Yeah.
We made a call, and I went to the referee, and I said, we're not snapping this ball unless they jump off sides. So we, we're still contemplating the play call that we're going to have, whether it was a kick, what we were going to do. And then they jump off sides, we snap it, and then we don't get it. So now that's just adversity that we have to overcome.
Yeah. So you get down the final drive, of course, it's 3rd and 23. That's just on your end of the field, it just seems like that's unbelievable. 3rd and 23, final drive to win the game. You're hoping to get a completion to cut that in half. You get a QB scramble. The final drive of the game, was it just, hey, 2, it's Sandlot football, go win the game?
Well, we have playmakers,
Yeah.
And our offensive line did a great job. But we completed balls on 3rd down. We completed balls on 4th down. We had a scramble to get us in position to we had a sack, maybe 2 sacks to put us way back. It had every single opportunity to quit, to duck our head, to say, dadgum, we gave it our best effort, but we didn't do it.
Yeah.
And then with 23 seconds left or whatever it was, we scored with 16 seconds left.
Yeah.
It was the most he wanted that touchdown more than the defenders wanted to tackle him. I believe that with all my heart.
Absolutely.
And once again, you can watch that film, and we have our receivers that we've talked about turn, and even they were trying to act like it was holding, instead of going to make a tackle, and it was really, really neat.
You've had a lot of post-game accolades. I was down there in the post-game, and what phone call or text did you get in post-game that kind of you were like, man, we're on the map a little bit?
Well, I don't know, to tell you the truth, but whenever I was talking to the kids, my phone was just going. By the time I had 93 text messages, whenever. But we have such a tight-knit circle within our coaching family that people we've worked with, that coach with us, and just to see how happy that, they were for us and our program, and it was pretty special.
When did it, I know you probably had a little celebrating Friday night. When did it hit you like, man, this is, because there wasn't a person in the state picked y'all to win that game?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And yes, we went and enjoyed the evening. We got up the next morning, and still, it's hard to, that's a great win. And we expected to, and like you said, not many people gave us opportunity, but we believed we could. But still, boy, it's fun to win football games.
Absolutely.
It is so fun. Whenever all your hard work, all your kids' hard work, all the time that is spent away from family, over the break. I told Mr. Allison at one point, whenever it was, I guess it was yesterday, boy, it doesn't seem like we spent a week off of school, because we were getting it for many hours a day. But it's so worth it whenever you see that, the gold footballs sitting up there, whenever you see the smiles on those kids' face, it is such a neat deal.
Well, Caddo's in the Elite Eight, if you want to call it that. Of course, now 12-1 Gilmer, 5-0. They're from the same district. Pleasant Grove is, of course, 7:30 Friday night. Seven, excuse me. Texas A&M Commerce there in Commerce. Only loss this year for them has been Carthage. Of course, that's a team that everybody in the state's going to know. Well, did some reading up, said they're mirror images of your offense, like to throw it around quite a bit, got some guys that can go deep. How are y'all preparing for that on the defensive side of the ball?
Well, it's kind of a little bit different, because we just got through the wing tee. We've played mostly running type of teams, with the exception of Van. But we've had to get back to some of our half-line pass drills, our 7-on-7 multiple times a day, and just, to read those routes and move with those routes. So they have a scrambling quarterback. They have a couple multiple running backs that could go, multiple receivers that could go. They are a really dynamic offense.
They beat Sunnyvale to get to you guys 31-14. If you talk to Coach Settle,
I haven't, and I thought I would, but he hasn't called, and I haven't called him, But no, we haven't talked.
You get down to this round 4, man. There's 8 teams. Two of these teams are going to play for a state championship in a couple weeks at AT&T. It's round 4. Any nerves you think, or will you coach this different, or is it house money? How are you feeling right now?
Well, we had a staff meeting and with our coaches yesterday, and wanted to talk about a couple things, but we have worked so hard whenever we knew that there was a chance to win the district championship. That doesn't come around all the time.
No.
And then you work, then that word undefeated, and you look how many times it's happened in the history of the school. And so there's that pressure, and you work, and you win a couple playoff games. And now you have the opportunity to play over, there's this opportunity to play in the third round doesn't come around, and you work, and you grind, and you win. And so now we're to the same thing. Guys, playing in the 4th round doesn't happen. Being in the Elite Eight doesn't happen every year.
Yeah.
So anything that we can do, any sliver of so no, not nerves, but just want to make sure that every I is dotted, every T is crossed, and that we coach our kids the best we could possibly coach them to give them the best opportunity we can to go win this game.
I'm excited about the venue. I mean, I've done a lot of radio in a lot of different stadiums. Never done one at Texas A&M Commerce. I know we had heard Lindale, Royce City was going to throw their hat back in the ring. And what made you decide on a Commerce?
So at first it was Lindale. Well, that didn't happen because they're still in the playoffs and they didn't want to host. So it came to Van. And I did not want to limit our crowd if I could get away with it. So, and their coach is a great guy. I've really enjoyed working with him. And I said, Coach, we have Royce City. If you have something that is close to you guys, we'll flip you home neutral. Royce City for whatever. And they had a couple of them. I don't remember what it was. But So that's what we were planning on doing. So we came back, and our coaches came over to my house, and we were waiting on his call to flip home neutral. And he called and said, Coach, what about just playing a neutral site game in Commerce? Well, that thing seats, 12,000 people, something like that. And I thought, well, great. That's awesome. So we decided against it. But I was willing to do the extra drive and go the whole 2 hours to play at a bigger venue, because it's such a special opportunity. I wanted to reduce not reduce, I guess, have as many people that wanted to be at the game possible, have them the opportunity to be there.
Gilmer's first year head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Your second year head coach here at Caddo.
Yes, sir.
How do you think, first year head coach, Gilmer's a proud program. I wonder, what do you, he's got a heck of a ball team. What do you think his expectations are?
Well, they have been at least in the third round the last 14 years. Mm-hmm. And that reminds me exactly what I was telling people about Van, is that's the level of expectation that we want to get this program to, that we're working to. Well, they expect, I don't care who they play, they expect to get on the bus and they expect to win because they've done it for so long. Mm-hmm. And that's all they know. Mm-hmm. So their expectation is to come, win the game, and go to the state semifinal.
Last question here, Coach. I know we've had several conversations about Muleshoe and Lake Travis and some of the things you did at Alice and Gonzales, but man, when you retire and hang it up, become an AD or a golfer or whatever you want to do when you're done with this, where would Friday rank in your all-time Rolodex of memorable football games?
Man, there's been some good ones.
Mm-hmm.
There's been some great ones, some special moments with some special kids. But I'm not 100% sure there's one any more special than that. That was truly special to defeat the number one team in the state. And, I'll never forget, and I don't want, but, the first game, the first year, whenever we ran on the field, there wasn't everybody that stood up, to greet us. And then seeing that some of those shots, and our stands are going crazy, and our JV down on the sideline going crazy, mobbing people. It was an electric atmosphere that I will remember for the rest of my life.
Well, Coach, I'll see you Friday, and let's try to get one more.
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.